Got it. And look, so the bottom line is you have to either own or will own your home, right?
Yeah.
Own or will own, and you have to have a qualifying. And this goes back to the very beginning of this conversation. You have to have a service-connected disability that qualifies you for it. Just having the disability doesn't help you. It has to be a service-connected condition. Okay, so here the qualifying service-connected disabilities include the loss or loss of use of more than one limb, the loss or loss of use of a lower leg, along with the residual lasting effects of an organic disease or injury, blindness in both eyes, certain severe burns, the loss or loss of use of one lower extremity, foot, or leg after September 11th. Now, here's the interesting thing. Only 120 veterans and service members, again, this is open to either or, right? So veterans and service members, only 120 veterans and service members each fiscal year can qualify for a grant based on the loss of one extremity after September 11th, 2021 is set by Congress. So, you know, I don't know how many of these actually go through every year, but, you know, if you want to apply, I would do it sooner than later, right? So a fiscal year runs from October 1st. It's using the federal fiscal year. So, you know, here we are halfway through this year. So maybe the 120 have been taken. Don't know. Apply anyway. You might get denied. Who knows? But if you have to apply again, apply again. Do you know how much this SAH pays out, Clay?
I don't have that pulled up, so I definitely want you to do that. But I will say this: I was not tracking the limit per fiscal year, which it's unsettling to hear. Actually, it kind of bothers me. And
Right.
so that just real quick, I would like someone at some point to grab the data of all who meet the requirements but were denied because of the cap. And if that's the case, I would probably do a strong argument for some legislation to be passed because that's baloney. That don't sit right with me at all.
Absolutely, and it's just the one conduit. I mean, and granted, I mean any avenue in should just be an avenue in, right, with no limitations. So it's only if you have two amputated limbs, then this doesn't apply. Mm-hmm. So it's for the one amputated qualifying on the loss of one extremity after September 11th, 9/11, right? So of 2001. But yes, I agree. I don't think there should be a limitation on any of that. And if it's 120, then how did they set that? And if they set that at 120, were they thinking that was going to be pretty much covering everybody? Well, then if so, then why not let it be 130 and just have a little extra, you know, or why even have anything then is kind of the thing. So, but yeah, so it's $117,014. If you qualify for an SAH grant, you can get up to $117,014 for fiscal year 2024. And again, it changes every year. It says here that both of these must be true. You or your family own or will own the home. So there's a little caveat there. You or a family member. So if you're living with a family member, right? So in some cases, I can't really fully take care of myself. I'm going to move in with my kids, right? So now I'm living. I was going to say my parents, but I'm like, my parents can't take care of me anymore. It would be the other way around. So. Because now I'm getting to that age in life, right? Clay, you're young enough. Me, on the other hand, it's like, you know, yeah. So I'd have to go move in with my 27-year-old and then adapt his house is what would happen. So that's how that would work. So depending on your circumstances and your age is probably going to be a factor on that. But the bottom line is you or a family member own or will own the home. You have a qualifying service-connected disability. And again, on that own or will own home piece, look, it's hard to buy a house in today's world. This might be an opportunity, depending on where you live, right? At California, Bay Area, maybe not. But if you are in Oklahoma or some cities in Texas, right? Some towns in Texas, not Austin, other areas in Texas where things are still affordable, you know, wherever, right? So you pick your flavor, you get my point, but you can utilize this money in the purchase of the home and having it built to your specifications. So it's kind of like a big down payment, right?
It's a
And
huge down payment.
right. So if you need to move in with a family member, but the family member's renting, right? Maybe now you're having that conversation of, hey, look, let's me move in with you. Let's together buy this house. And now everybody wins, right? So you have to think outside of the box a little bit, and look for ways to leverage some of these benefits. It does say here, qualifying service-connected disabilities include the loss or loss of use of both hands, certain severe burns, and it also says certain respiratory or breathing injuries. And that's going to be big, because when you're talking about respiratory and breathing, who are we talking about now? We're talking about the whole Gulf War situation, right? And those conditions that are now, a lot of them are presumptive, great. Sadly, and this is the weirdest world, and I'm going to throw it out there. I always say this. It's the weirdest world where it's like everything bad is answered with, oh, great. Like, oh, my condition really sucks. Oh, awesome. You're going to get a whatever, right? So whatever. We get it because we all chewed some of the same dirt to one extent or another. But these respiratory and breathing injuries are probably not going to get better.
Yeah.
And as they get worse, and it's harder to just walk from your living room to your kitchen, right? Maybe some of this stuff will come into play for you. And it's important that you're aware, is the bottom line. So with that, I'll kick it back to you for final thoughts on SAH, Clay, and then we could jump from there.
Yeah, no, to double tap the respiratory conditions, it's really good. There's two that come to mind. There are more. There's two that come to mind for Gulf War era. It's going to be COP D will probably be the most common that will pave the way for these benefits, so to speak. And then severe asthma. Just to be clear, not your 30% or 10% asthma. Probably going to be, I mean, obviously 100%, maybe the 60% criteria. But I'm just thinking of any situation, right? So in my house, there's a slight hill that you have to walk up. If I had 100% asthma, that's not happening. Okay, that's not happening at all. And so maybe I don't have 100% asthma, but if I did, that's something that would make me think, hey, let's talk about adaptive housing. I don't know what that would look like if you do have severe asthma, but what I do know is if you have this disability and it paves the way for a housing grant, just go talk to a rep, right? We don't know what we don't know. And there's a billion situations that are very niche, that only apply to you, right? So Jason and I can give you a scenario, but that would apply to like 1 in a million veterans. And so if you do rate any of these or think about rating them, just go talk to a VSO, do your own research, have that conversation. And the down payment thing, that didn't really cross my mind until you had brought that up. Imagine having a down payment, let's just say half of 117, which is a little less than 60. I'm not gonna do that math on camera, but let's just say 55, right? That's a large amount. You know, you're looking at a home that's 300 grand. That's a sixth of the cost right there. That's a huge down payment. I don't know if it would factor in the down payment from a lender perspective. But again, we don't know what we don't know, right? And so that could open up some very huge avenues. That's a whole other benefit in itself, is having a down payment, okay? But again, if this applies to you, just look at it. Look it up, have that conversation. And especially if we're talking about these benefits, I would argue 1,000%, if you're at the severity to rate these, you absolutely need to be taking advantage of these, not just for you, but like I said earlier, your family. Okay, that's going to lessen the burden on their life as well, and obviously the veteran's life as well. There too. Okay.
And I'm gonna add in there. So this is directly from the VA's website. Can I get a specially adapted housing grant? So that's the SAH. You may be able to get an SAH grant if you're using the grant money, to buy or build or change your permanent home. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you don't rent, I would say try not to change that rental house, right? So now if you buy or build, and if you need to pull in other family members to do that, it might make sense. So again, I'm giving you the information for you to do your deep dive specifically, but there's also, just on the home loan piece, since we're there, if you are service connected, you do not have to pay the VA funding fee, which is a substantial amount of money, right? Service connected at any percentage. Here's the workaround on that if you don't already have a service connection. If you file an intent to file, then 6 months later, you buy a house with a VA loan, but you're not service connected and you pay your VA funding fee. Then 6 months after that, you get rated, but they back pay you to your intent to file date. Now you were service connected prior to using your VA loan, and you can inform your lender and they will refund your VA funding fee. So just an important piece to understand.
Oh, yeah.
A little
Absolutely.
extra piece.